Hello, and welcome to a new episode of Boxes of Comics. I am your host, the Real Hot Marat, and today we are talking about the Disney Ducks. If you like Walt Disney, if you like comic books, and you like superheroes, this is the channel for you. So make sure that you stay tuned because we'll be back right after this. Alright, welcome back. Like I said, we're going to be doing the Disney Ducks. And in this corner, these are all foreign comic books. So we've got a couple really interesting covers here. And then we have some classic originals of Uncle Scrooge right here. And then we got the really old school stuff here. So like Walt Disney's Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, Uncle Scrooge and Donald Duck, Donald Duck on the Gold Dust Trail, Donald Duck, the Overnight Hero, Donald Duck, OG's Iron Bed. And then down below, we've got some Top Comics presents Walt Disney's Uncle Scrooge and Walt Disney's Comics and Stories featuring Donald Duck along with Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Then over here, we have the Ducks Magazine, an informal biography of Uncle Scrooge McDuck, How to Read Donald Duck, the classic popular study on cultural imperialism and children's literature. Then we have The Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck, Walt Disney's Christmas Parade. Then we have two versions of Everything You Need to Know About Uncle Scrooge, one in English and one in German. And then we have Walt Disney's Donald Duck as well. If you think that's cool, just wait, because now it's time for Robin's Fun Fact. Woo!
Back in the original days, most of the Uncle Scrooge and Donald Duck and Huey, Dewey, and Louie stories were written and illustrated by Carl Barks. He was one of the few names under the Disney title that you actually knew who this person was. There were a few other, but mostly Walt Disney kept everything under his home name, his real name. So here's interesting about Carl Barks. Now, the Ducks have been famous worldwide, as you can see from some of the different foreign language editions we have here, particularly in the Norwegian countries. And Don Rosa was asked to extensively research the Carl Barks legacy of the history of Uncle Scrooge, and he did it in minute detail and put out these two books, which is all about the life and times and the history of Scrooge McDuck. He points out in the original stories where he got these things from, and some of these stories he's written are based upon just a casual comment that Carl Barks made about Scrooge's early times. Any Ducks fan, these are must-haves and must-reads.
All right. Now we are going to transition to everything that is a 15-cent comic of the Disney Ducks. So let's begin. Up here, this first row is all Uncle Scrooge. Ooh. Down here, we have more Uncle Scrooge. Ooh. Then we have some that are missing the covers, but that's okay, because this is still just Uncle Scrooge. Ooh. Got some more missing covers, but I think that's what shows that a comic's been loved and taken care of, because it shows that you really enjoy those comic books. Here's some more Uncle Scrooge. Down below. This one's pretty funny. He's sleeping in a bed full of money. Uncle Scrooge. Now we're moving on to Huey, Dewey, and Louie. These are the nephews of Donald Duck. And then we've got Daisy and Donald, Donald Duck. And that is part 1 of our 15 center. Okay, moving on. This is part 2 of our 15-cent duck collection. But here we have some more Donald Duck. Look at him going fishing here. Really trying. Here. Then we go down below. Here we have Mickey Mouse. He snuck his way in. We've got Walt Disney's Christmas Parade. Then we go back to Donald Duck. We have 2 copies of Donald Duck Goes Fishing, A Day in a Duck's Life. Coming down here. Oh, look, getting festive for Halloween because that's right around the corner here. We got Christmas. Him hanging out with his nephews, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Here he is, looks sick in bed. Very cool. Oh, there's Thanksgiving. Doing chores around the house while Huey and Dewey and Louie making some chaos. And that is the rest of our 15-cent duck collection. Now it's time for Robin's Fun Fact.
Here we go. So Don Rosa, who put together the Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck, also gave us the family tree. So Scrooge McDuck had a sister, Hortense McDuck. She had 2 children, Della Duck and Donald Duck. Della Duck married someone unknown, and she had 3 children, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. So that's how they're related to Donald and to Uncle Scrooge. And for those of you who are DuckTale fans, you have the Goose family over here, and you can see they're also cousins to the McDucks.
Wow, fancy. And Robin's got on a duck tie.
Quack, quack.
Quack, quack. Okay, moving right along, you'll notice that we've got 2 20 cents, a handful of 25 cents, and then we also have some 30 cents. Just because it went from 10-cent comics to 12-cent comics to 15 to 20 to 25, then 30. But that's not a Robin fun fact. That's a Box of Comics fun fact. So here's some more ducks. We've got Donald with his nephews throwing snowballs. Uncle Scrooge trying to go to bed. Everybody running away from the Queen of the Wild Dog Park. And then we got Christmas. Some more Christmas. We got some more Donald Ducks. Some Christmas, a surprise party. There's Donald fishing again. I'm starting to notice a theme with Donald. He likes to be out on the pond a lot. Then we got him and his nephews again. Uncle Scrooge coming around. Donald. Everybody's playing tennis. Keep off the grass, but you know Uncle Scrooge, he's got to have that dollar bill. There's Uncle Scrooge brushing up on his money collection. Ooh, ah. Transitioning on, we got some more ducks. So we got Uncle Scrooge at the beach. And he's yelling at birds with his money. He's underwater with the treasure chest. They go to outer space. He's looking at the bank truck. Oh, look, he's playing the snake songs. Then he's trying to sleep, and you got Huey, Dewey, and Louie playing games with them. Here we go. We're back in space, it looks like. Some really cool covers. Moving down, we're now getting into the 35-cent pile. Walt Disney's Comics and Stories. I love how there's Donald Duck, but then there's also just regular comics and stories, or there's certain comics that just focus on one duck. What do you guys think about that? Here he's back at the pond. Like we said, there's a trend. Donald loves going to the pond as a duck. Coming down the table now. Then we got all these. Look, he's going back fishing. Got the hourglass full of money. It's raining. I wonder what they're doing at the park. Are they going to the pond? There they are at the beach, having a beach day. And then they go back to outer space. Ooh. Okay, moving on. We've got some 20 centers, a 25 center, and then 50. Look, they're on Splash Mountain. Wow! This one, it's kind of like Indiana Jones, but they're in Persia. Very cool. Uncle Scrooge again. He really loves his money. Whoop, 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 whoop. Look, they're riding a billy goat. Coming down. They're all in a bathtub, hiding from Uncle Donald. They're trying to have a barbecue, and the boys are going to put out the barbecue. Here they're playing baseball, causing trouble in the house, hiding underneath a log, sleeping away. Look, they're fighting Godzilla in that one. Very cool covers. Donald Duck, Walt Disney's Comics and Stories. They're underwater now. Here he's diving into some money. They got some monsters over there. Now this is the most reprinted Duck comic, Uncle Scrooge and Only a Poor Old Man. That's a little fun fact for you guys. There he's playing the bongos with piggy banks. And right here, this is special because this is the 500th issue of Walt Disney's Comics and Stories. So that's pretty cool too. Okay, moving right along in this collection, we only have a total of 5 comic books. But this is important because these ones are only 69 cents. So nice. We like that. So we've got Uncle Scrooge and the Golden Fleecing, Walt Disney's Uncle Scrooge Classics, Donald Duck, the Golden Helmet, Donald Duck, No Such Varmint, and Daisy and Donald from Daisy's Diary. Moving right along, this next group of comic books is organized into Uncle Scrooge, Donald Duck, and Uncle Scrooge's Adventures. There are some standalones here, but let's go through them all. We have Uncle Scrooge in Arabia, Scrooge McDuck in the Yukon, Uncle Scrooge McDuck Adventures, Uncle Scrooge and Donald Duck, Uncle Scrooge by himself again, the Uncle Scrooge Adventures, Donald Duck Adventures, Uncle Scrooge's Adventures, Uncle Scrooge, The Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck, Part 6.5. This is Uncle Scrooge at the Edge of Time, Uncle Scrooge again, Uncle Scrooge Day Dirt, Uncle Scrooge, 48-page super spectacular 300th issue right there. Walt Disney's Uncle Scrooge in this issue, Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck, Chapter 0. Uncle Scrooge. Walt Disney's Uncle Scrooge, special 250th issue right there. Uncle Scrooge. Walt Disney's Donald Duck, a brand new Don Rosa Olympic story inside. Walt Disney's Donald Duck Adventures, a 64-page giant. And Walt Disney's Uncle Scrooge Adventures. This next set of comics is special because we have a couple different publishers. Up here we have Boom Kids, so we bring the boom to you, as my brother would say. Donald Duck and Friends, Walt Disney Comics, right here. So that's all Boom Studios. Then we're moving on to IDW Comics, Uncle Scrooge, right up there. And then we have the rare appearance of Disney Publishing, Donald Duck. So this is very, very cool right here. What do you guys think? Which publishing company did the best job with the Disney Ducks? Let me know. So, last but not least, we have a handful more of comic books, so let's go through them. We have Donald Duck and Friends in Ancient Persia, Donald Duck featuring Pawns of Loup-Garou, Free Comic Book Day, Walt Disney's Mickey Mouse inside the Robin Hood Adventures, Walt Disney's Uncle Scrooge Free Comic Book Day, Walt Disney's Uncle Scrooge, Return to Xanadu, Uncle Scrooge, Walt Disney's Uncle Scrooge. This one, it says Walt Disney's Uncle Scrooge Will Eisner Comic Industry Awards 2004. For those of you that don't know, the Eisner Awards are like the Oscars of comic books. So we've got a couple editions right here. that are a part of the Eisner Awards. We have Uncle Scrooge, Uncle Scrooge Island at the Edge of Time, Uncle Scrooge's 60th anniversary, so that's a pretty big deal. Congrats to Uncle Scrooge. Donald Duck Family, the Dan Jippers Collection, Volume 1. But look at the price. See what we've gone up to, guys. It's now $9 for a comic book. And when we started this video, it was 10 cents. Man, inflation goes up fast. So we've got Uncle Scrooge Adventures, the Barks Rosa Collection, Volume 1, Land of the Pygmy Indians, War on the Wendigo, Walt Disney's Donald Duck Adventures, the Barks Rosa Collection, Volume 2, Walt Disney's Donald Duck, the Barks Rosa Collection, Volume 3, and finally, Disney's DuckTales, $15.99, featuring Scrooge's Quest by Marv Wolfman. And it's signed. And that is our Disney Ducks.
As our incredible narrator has explained, we're looking at Carl Barks and Don Rosa as being the preeminent Uncle Scrooge and Donald Duck writers and illustrators. And on these three comics, the original story by Carl Barks and then a follow-up sequel to it by Don Rosa in all cases. Pretty cool, highly recommended. Marv Wolfman, who we discussed earlier in one of our monster segments, was asked to do a comic book collection of DuckTales. And Marv Wolfman was not a fan of the Disney Ducks. So he had to go through the archives and went through all the Carl Barks Ducks. And lo and behold, Marv Wolfman became a big fan of the Carl Barks genre of Disney Ducks. And although this is DuckTales, it's very much like the Uncle Scrooge and the comics and stories, and he takes them on the same adventures all around the world. It's kind of his homage to Carl Barks. And yes, Marv did sign this for us.
Wow. Thanks, Robin. Quack, quack. Wow. Thanks, Robin, for sharing your Ducks collection with Boxes of Comics today. If you guys liked this video, make sure that you like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss another exciting video. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure to check out other content on this channel, and we will see you next time on Boxes of Comics. Woohoo!